Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the business talk show here on Business Talk Radio and on social media. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life and career coach. And with me today is my co-host and partner, Mr. Al Cini. Al, welcome to the program.
It's always great to be on the program with you, Dr. Jacalyn. And again, you found a terrific guest for us today.
I know, she is fantastic. And we're going to be discussing with Mia Sin about the business of nutrition.
I think on the subject of nutrition, they say you are what you eat. And I'm afraid that means that I'm a Big Mac and a large order of fries. And I know, I kind of represent the lazy contingent out there who just sort of sees food and eats food. Being a little bit more mindful about what we eat, I think, is what Mia is going to be talking to us about. It. Dr. Jacalyn, I get the impression you're a lot more careful about what you eat than I am.
Well, I am careful about what I eat to a point. And the point is that I do like sugar. So I go for periods of time without having any sugar. And then all of a sudden I just say to myself, you know what, I'm going to bake some cookies. And then, of course, I have to eat the batter raw, which is the worst thing you possibly can do. But it's so much fun because I just love cookies. So I'm hoping that Mia's going to have some tips for how we can have some kind of sweets or baked goods, but in a healthy way. And I follow her on Instagram, and she's got a lot of really good tips and beautiful pictures. So
she really knows her stuff. And I want to talk about sugar because everybody thinks it's terrible and you can't have any of it, but we'll find out from the expert. And I want to talk about fat too, because fat-free diets and different kinds of fats and polyunsaturated fats. And I find it all very confusing, and it'd be good to be straightened out on that.
All good points. And I think because we are at the beginning of 2021, obviously people have made resolutions. Right. And what I found is that you have to have a long-term plan in order to make an impact, and to have a healthy way of eating, that can't just be one and done. It can't be, I'm going to eat healthy today and then tomorrow I'm just going to go to McDonald's. No. I remember reading somewhere. They have salads at McDonald's too, so it's not just the Big Mac, but it's hard to say no to that thing, at least for me. And I've also read somewhere that I think the number one New Year's resolution is weight loss or eat more nutritious food. And it'll be good to know how you can keep a promise like that to yourself. Al, last night, my mom and I were watching the movie Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. And we both commented over and over again, the women, the men, their waists are so tiny. They were just, I think back in the, I don't know if it was the 60s, whenever that movie came out, the 70s, was it the 80s? I don't know. But people were so thin, and we were, so obsessed with having a waist size of 18 or 20. And things seem to have really changed since then. So I'm wondering if it is strictly because of our food choices, or is there more stress in life now than before?
I think society has a way of punishing us, and by creating expectations that are unrealistic. The whole idea that you can have a 18-inch waist, whatever that crazy number might be. All I can imagine is that they'd have a tattoo on their butts that said, "Caution, contents under pressure." Because I don't know how you move food through a body that's constrained that way. And I'm sure when you were watching that movie, you didn't see them eat a whole lot, or at least not swallow.
Right, exactly. Well, The other thing is, and we're going to bring Mia out in just a second, the other thing is that as we get older, I think our food really has a big impact on our skin. And when we're too thin, then our skin starts to hang, and, our neck looks, probably the way mine looks.
as opposed to when you're younger and you've got so much elasticity in your skin. And I think, eating a lot of sugar, I believe, has an impact on that. But let's not wait any longer to bring Mia out. Here she is. Welcome to the program, Mia. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Jacalyn. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you on.
We are thrilled to have you here. Now, so you are a registered dietitian and also TV show host, and you're coming to us live from Charleston.
Yes, live from Charleston. I'm a registered dietitian, and I have a master's degree in human nutrition, as well as my bachelor's. So a lot of nutrition background. So hopefully I can shed some light and answer some questions today.
Absolutely. So you are definitely, for us, in the right place at the right time, because as Al and I were just discussing, we have a lot of questions ourselves. And I'm sure people are out there thinking, what am I supposed to eat? Can I have sugar? So first of all, if you wouldn't mind, Mia, give us a background of how you got started down this path.
Sure. So I come from a family that's very, I would say most of my family's in healthcare. So I grew up sort of around seeing my parents see patients daily and just see how rewarding that was. And so I was really drawn to the healthcare field. And then in school, I was introduced to nutritional science, and I thought it was amazing because like you had mentioned earlier, we all eat every day and nutrition affects us all daily. So it's information that everyone can benefit from. And so I found that to be just so fascinating. And that's also what drew me to start my blog and Instagram, sharing nutrition tips and recipes daily from an evidence-based perspective, because nutrition is, there's so much noise when you Google the latest diet and there's so many different trends. This is the best way to eat. This is the best food for you. And so really my mission in starting my business and nutritionbymia.com was to debunk all that and come share nutrition from an evidence-based perspective, as a scientist would. And so that's really my objective with my business and brand.
I think that's so important too, Mia, because it sounds like what you do is bespoke diets. It's not one size fits all. Each individual really needs to have a program tailored for them based on their age and their lifestyle, all those things. How do you do that?
That's right. People's dietary needs are different. So a lot of people hear we should be consuming, 2,000 calories per day. That's not necessarily true for every single person. It really depends on a multitude of factors. So your age, your weight, your activity level, your health status, and in the hospital, we use a formula to kind of calculate exactly how many calories you need per day. But with my, nutritionbymia.com, I'm sharing sort of general health tips, nutrition tips that I think most healthy individuals could benefit from, sort of general advice.
And before you started your business, were you eating healthy and eating well all the time?
No, I wasn't. So, no dietitian is perfect. A lot of people think we're the food police, but that's not always the case. We like cookies too. We eat cookie dough. I definitely had some cookie dough over Christmas, but I didn't really know what, the whole sort of like my plate is what we use as in dietetics. I didn't really know what a balanced plate looked like. These are not things that were taught in, junior high school. I think that they should have a nutrition course. At least my schools didn't have that. So never really learned what a balanced nutritious diet looked like until I got into my coursework. And even though now it's so intuitive to me, I have to remember that it's not intuitive to other people as it wasn't for me at some time in my life. So I wasn't always, the best eater. And I try to share sort of the basics because I know a lot of people weren't taught that necessarily in school and whatnot.
I vaguely remember learning about the four, is this right? The 4 food groups? I think we learned that. So there's grains, dairy, produce, or fruits and veggies,
protein, fats. So I don't know how many that is.
That's 5.
But yeah, 5.
And then there's the food pyramid. Remember that, where you start. I mean, now we're freaked out about carbohydrates, but carbohydrates, I think, used to be the base of that pyramid. So it was recommended that you eat a lot of carbs by the government. That's not true, is it?
Well, it still is. It still should be the foundation of a healthy, nutritious diet. Carbohydrates is the macronutrient we need the most of, followed by protein, healthy fats, so it depends because a gram of carbohydrates has a different number of calories versus a gram of protein, gram of fat. So carbohydrates convert to glucose. That's our cell's main source of energy. And I know that the low carb diet and sort of the keto diet is very trendy right now. And I think most dietitians would agree that it's not the best. And with the new dietary guidelines coming out, sort of debunked that and stuck by carbohydrates should be the foundation of your diet. And a lot of people think carbohydrates are just like white bread pasta, but carbohydrates are also found in vegetables and dairy products. So they're definitely found in nutritious foods. I know they're kind of demonized by the media and just traditional ways of thinking. We think of carbohydrates as bad, but they're found in really nutritious foods that we should be consuming daily.
I didn't know that. Thinking back over through time, I have been on so many different eating plans, diets. I remember I don't even know what this one was called, but where you focus most of your calories on protein. So I was eating ground meat, eggs, bacon. And I stopped doing that because I always felt kind of greasy. I don't know how to explain it, but so I don't know. I think it's just really confusing about what you're supposed to eat. And then I was told, don't eat anything in a package. It should all be from the ground. So when you're speaking to someone and trying to help them be healthier, how do you know which way they should go? Or is it the same for everybody? Are Al and I, should we be eating the same, except maybe he gets to eat more than I do?
So I think a lot of people are looking for sort of that magic diet or magic, sort of like a magic pill that will help with weight loss or energy levels and whatnot. But I think that diet can be very individualized. I mean, some people do well with dairy, some don't. For example, some people do better with animal protein. They feel more energized, and some people really thrive on more of a plant-based diet. So I think it's very individualized. And, but generally, the USDA, the dietary guidelines are put in place based on research and, what the general healthy population should be eating. And so I think there's a reason that those are in place. So generally, I wouldn't say that I'm not I'm not an advocate of those extreme diets, like, just the bacon and the protein and all that. It's definitely a balance, and because you want to get a variety of foods in your diet, so you're meeting your nutritional needs. Foods provide different vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, macronutrients, and so variety is key. It's not like a one food is the answer.
So it's not all Big Macs or all chocolate chip cookies.
Or all Big Macs.
Unfortunately.
Dr. Jacalyn, I wanted to bring into the conversation something that I know you suffer from a chronic illness, and a lot of people do, from what you have and from other things. And I guess diets really do need to be tailored for. Maybe you could share with us how you're coping with that, Doc.
Sure. So I have ulcerative colitis, which means I have bleeding ulcers in my colon. And when I was diagnosed in 1991, I had 5 inches, and now I have 16 inches. And so sometimes, like, I've been in a flare for 6 months now. And what I'd really like to do is to be off medicine completely. And so a question that I have for you, Mia, and Al, I want you to weigh in on this, is about fasting.
I was going to ask about that. It's a great question.
I hear from many people that that's the way to go, but we have to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors. So please stay with us. We are here with Mia Sin, and we will be back on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the Business Talk Show.
Definitely. Great.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. My name is Al Cini, and it is my total pleasure to be co-hosting with Dr. Jacalyn today the Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn Business Edition, which is a great opportunity to talk to real experts like Mia Sin. We have a great guest today. Mia Before the break, Dr. Jacalyn started to ask a question about fasting. And the reason why I wanted to bring us back after the break is because, as you can see, I'm by a bookshelf, and it happens that I'm in the fad diet section. I mean, we have books for just about every kind of fad diet you can name, and we have 2 books on fasting, which is not eating at all. Isn't that right?
Yes. Fasting is, intermittent fasting. You guys heard of that? It's very trendy right now, intermittent fasting.
I've heard of it, definitely.
I've heard of it too. And I know some people who really believe.
They swear by it.
Yeah, that is so many days per month, every month, or the end of the year, you should fast. So what I'm wondering is, if you're fasting, how are you getting your nutrition?
So I know a little bit about intermittent fasting. It's not something that I think a lot of dietitians advocate. It's not a recommendation that we learn in our training, but I know it's very trendy right now. A lot of my readers, followers ask me about it. But I think there's different versions of it that people do. Some people will eat within an 8-hour window or 4-hour window and then fast the rest of the day. I think the objective is they're still meeting their nutritional needs in that eating window, but they're just not eating for a long period of time than you traditionally would with the, breakfast, lunch, dinner type of diet. But some people find they do really well on it. Some people have found they lost weight on it. They feel more energy. So it's not something I am against, as long as you are meeting your nutritional needs. And if people find they do well on it, I think that's great. They can go ahead and do that.
Do people drink enough water though, Mia? Isn't that a big part of fasting? You gotta take something.
Yes. Well, I would hope that they're drinking water during the hours of fasting, maybe when they're not eating food. But water, I think a lot of people don't get enough of. There's sort of this idea that once you're thirsty, you're already sort of dehydrated. And so we should be getting around 2 to 3 liters per day, I think, for healthy males and females. But I mean, I would hope that they're drinking water during those hours of fasting and just not consuming food.
You know what I think it's interesting, at least in my experience, many people don't like to drink water. And what I found was, so I gave up caffeine, I gave up all sugary drinks. So I only drink water all day long. And then I like to drink my Chardonnay, which that's another story. But
nutritional.
Exactly. But what I found is the water, if it's room temperature, is easy to consume, a lot of it. I think when it's colder, I don't know, it seems more difficult for me. But Mia, how much water would you say that you drink on a daily basis?
That's interesting. I think some people think that room temperature is off-putting. I know some people that just like cold water, or maybe they like carbonated water. There's a lot of ways to like jazz up your water. I like to do spa water to add like fruits and veggies to your water, fresh herbs, and keep that chilled in the refrigerator. So that's a great way to drink more water. But another thing I should have noted is that you don't necessarily have to drink those 2 to 3 liters per day. You can help meet your needs through the foods you consume. So I do a lot of posts on Eat Your Water, where I'll highlight sort of foods that are really high in water. So, I mean, that's primarily produce, watermelon, cucumber, bell peppers. They're over 90% water. Even dairy products are high in water, yogurt. And then even your morning coffee, that's primarily water. So you're getting your fluids through more ways than just, a glass of water throughout the day. I think I used to have sort of a jug of water that I would try to drink when I was struggling. That helped a lot. I would just fill it up at the beginning of the day, and that would help me drink it because I just have it by my side. But yeah, having the reusable water bottle, I think since a lot of us are working from home, might be a little bit easier. I definitely recommend having like the reusable jug. I think that's a great way to get more water if that's where you struggle.
That is a really good idea. So let's talk about the four-letter word that's more than four letters. Let's talk about sugar.
Sugar, yeah. Definitely.
Yes.
So we hear all kinds of things about sugar, that it's the nemesis, it's absolutely horrible. You have to eliminate all sugar that is not natural, like found in fruits. So as a registered dietitian, what are your thoughts on that, Mia?
So it's interesting because the new dietary guidelines, they didn't lower the maximum sugar grams per day, even though a lot of research was suggesting otherwise. But they must have felt that it was okay where it's at. I believe it's at 50 grams of added sugar per day. You don't want to exceed that. And the thing with sugar is that it's empty calories. It's giving us energy, but it's not providing us vitamins, minerals, micronutrients. And so the idea that sugar from fruit is better for you, it's still sugar that you're getting from fruit, but you're also getting a bunch of other good stuff. You're getting fiber, which is a nutrient that most Americans don't get enough of, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. So that's the idea, where sugar from fruit is better than sugar found in like cookies or candy or something like that, just adding straight sugar to coffee. But yeah, I think finding more natural ways to satisfy sweet cravings is definitely ideal. Just, you want to strive for a nutrient dense diet. That's something that I advocate on my blog with my readers. But I think another thing is that sugar is hidden in a lot of things. It's hidden in salad dressings, breads, and a lot of people may not realize that sugar is also found naturally in yogurt and dairy, a lot of dairy like milk. And so that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize.
And you would think that 50 grams would be a huge number, but it's not. And to your point about yogurt is packed full of sugar. I think there's 20 some grams of sugar. And I remember I was going down the bakery aisle in the store not that long ago, and you have these commercially produced, ho-hos, ding-dongs, ring-a-lings. I don't even know what all the names are. And some of them have more than 50 grams of sugar. It's shocking. So I think you would think that 50 grams is a lot, but it's really not when it comes to sugar.
It's so true. It definitely can add up. So even if you don't necessarily, it doesn't taste sweet, always read the nutrition facts label, the ingredient list. That's really my number one tip when it comes to buying. When you buy anything packaged, you want to read the label.
You've done so much research into this, and you know so much about it. Maybe you can, our listeners and our viewers, maybe you can walk them through what's available on your blog and on your Instagram.
Sure. So my website is nutritionbymia.com, and I'm also Nutrition by Mia on Instagram. And I share healthy recipes, meal ideas, and nutrition tips daily, different ways to satisfy cravings. Some of my most popular posts are the better sweet snacks, like natural ways to satisfy your sweet tooth, better crunchy snacks that aren't potato chips or anything like that. So those are some of my most popular posts. It's a great place to find just nutrition tips and ways to sneak more nutrition into your day, satisfy cravings, weight management, weight loss, you name it.
Great.
And they're always beautiful pictures on your Instagram. I love it. I'm like, I want to just
thank you.
Really very well done.
Much.
You also do a program on called Good Food Friday on the local ABC affiliate?
Yes, I do regular TV segments on our local affiliate, ABC Charleston, Good Food Friday. So this week I'll be sharing easy ways to eat healthier in the new year. And then I also do segments on local and national affiliates across the country almost weekly. So in a few weeks, I'll be in Jacksonville, Las Vegas. So if you live there, you can tune in to those programs.
Well,
that's really exciting. So you're going to hit the road again soon.
Hopefully, we're still doing remote segments. But I mean, hopefully, I think everyone is pretty optimistic with the new year. Things are hopefully changing for the better.
I think we're all feeling that way. And I have a bunch of questions to ask, but one of the questions I wanted to ask, you mentioned while you were talking about drinking water and how most people don't drink enough, you mentioned that you struggled at one point. And I know you weren't always, did you ever have diet problems that you needed to correct in your own life?
Well, looking back, I know that I wasn't, following a balanced diet. I think I always felt a little sluggish, and I didn't really know what it felt like to follow a healthy, balanced diet. So for me, I was a big sugar person too, like the cereal, breakfast cereals, those can also have a lot of sugar, and not really incorporating protein, which that made a huge difference for me personally. Wasn't eating like hardly any protein, and now I really try to get protein into meals and snacks. It's great for managing blood sugar levels and helping with energy. So I'm a big advocate of protein, fiber, which is found in whole grains, fruits and veggies. So getting those into your meals and snacks is a great way to naturally manage blood sugars, keep energy levels steady, kind of prevent those spikes and dips in energy that a lot of people experience. And just, it kind of takes your mind off of food too. For those that are just, thinking about food a lot, and they kind of, want to just focus more on their work or their family and whatnot. I think that's kind of my secret ingredient is protein and fiber. So getting those into meals and snacks. But with water, I just found that, sometimes I would have low energy, and then I would kind of like look at what I'm eating and realize maybe I'm not drinking enough water throughout the day. I have like, one or two glasses throughout the day. And so that's when I'll pull out the jug and just kind of fill it up. And, it's a great way to keep me accountable for the day. Like, okay, I need to finish this by the end of the day. And it really makes a difference for me.
Good.
I agree. I'm all about water. We need to take a break and hear from more of our sponsors, but we will be right back on Wrapping with Dr. Jacalyn with Mia Sin and Mr. Al Cini. Stay with us.
So many questions.
Don't go anywhere.
Networking sucks and people suck at it, but nothing gives me more life than walking around and talking to people in an audience and really being able to identify, okay, I see where you're having trouble, let's work on fixing it. How do you help them? How do you provide value? My goal is to give them those tools to be able to go out and tackle that fear. Anywhere there's coffee is where I'll be. So I bring candy a lot to my speaking engagements. Like, of course that makes sense. I'm a little unconventional.
Ashley was very knowledgeable.
Very entertaining.
I learned a few new things, and to me that's the key.
What do you want them to say? How do you want to be perceived? You're going to get the most direct, tactical tips and practical takeaways when it comes to networking. These two here are super important. You'll remember once the conversation starts.
I love the tips that she gave out. I hate networking with a passion, so I feel like I can go to a meeting or event and not feel so uncomfortable.
When you're going to a presentation, you want to be educated. You also want to be entertained.
She was really fun and really personable, and everything she was saying was just very relatable.
She's got a lot of great ideas.
That will make you stand out so fast.
She comes across as someone that likes what they do and just doesn't try to sell you something.
Activity breeds results. If you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere.
Just made me want to start networking, which I never thought I'd say before.
A networking strategy that works for you.
Have you just lost your job or have been laid off and you are looking to transition to a new job or career? Maybe you have even tried submitting tons of applications and yet you keep getting turned down for jobs you qualify for. Don't wait until you become overwhelmed with rejections when you can easily transition or get your dream job. Let MJW Careers guide you to the right career path and a better, brighter future. At MJW Careers, we know what hiring managers are looking for, and our goal is to land you the job you deserve. What makes MJW Careers a wonderful provider over other services is our pragmatic and scientific approach to resume writing. There are rules, there are visual cues, there are content best practices. We understand those and work within the boundaries to ensure our clients' messaging appeals to the decision makers. Our career consultants will help you transition into new roles quickly and effectively. With our experience in virtually every industry, we will provide direction in the frustrating job market by helping you write a customized, professional resume and prepare you for your interview as well. Join the great number of people we have helped scale up to greater things in their careers. Let us help you on your career journey. Come visit us, www.jobstickers.com, to learn more and grab a free resume review or ebook.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn on Business Talk Radio and live on social media. I am joined by my partner and co-host, Mr. Al Cini, and our special guest, Mia Sin. And I just want to say happy birthday, Ashley Owens. We just watched her networking commercial, and it's her birthday today. So we wish you all the best.
Great.
So back here with Mia, I have so many questions, but Al, I'm going to let you go to your question first.
Well, I'm going to ask this. Here's a head of lettuce. It's organic.
Okay.
It's genetically modified, or it's just lettuce. What's the difference?
Okay.
Do I have to worry about that?
Okay, so there was a study conducted at Stanford that showed, and I totally agree with this, that both conventional and organic produce, what each of them is going to provide you with the same nutrition, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. But with organic, it's obviously more costly. So if you can't afford organic, there's nothing wrong with choosing conventional because you are getting that same nutrition. You just want to wash your produce as you would even with organic produce. But it's just, you're not getting the pesticide residue, which, isn't, research says obviously you should rinse your produce, but I think that's just kind of a misconception that organic is more nutritious for you than conventional, and that's not the case. The only difference is one uses pesticides, one doesn't. GMO is something that I think should be debunked. There isn't a lot of research. There's a couple decades of research with genetically modified foods, but the research now shows that it's not harmful. The great thing about genetically modified foods is it's able to feed more people and make food less costly, which I think is really important. And there isn't research to show that it's harmful to consume genetically modified food as of now. But again, it's also very new. There's only I think a few decades of research to show it.
I think that's such valuable advice, Mia, because nobody really knows the difference between what science tells us and what the marketing messages tell us. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. And so a lot of people, I think, are wasting a lot of money on versions of foods that are really no more nutritious for them than a more economical version might be.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important that people know the facts. And that's something that I do with my blog and website, is just kind of debunk that misinformation, because there is a lot of noise when it comes to nutrition. And I know the media likes to run with different topics. So that's what the science says. And I think it's important that people know that.
That's great. Really helpful.
That is really good. My question is in reference to nutrition and the impact on our skin. Is there a correlation there?
So one of my good friends, she's a dermatologist, and we went to graduate school and we at Columbia, and so we both have our master's degree in human nutrition, and she was really interested in that link. And there's no like clear-cut science saying there's a link, but it definitely some research to show that there is. I think that including a lot of antioxidant-rich foods in your diet can definitely be of benefit, which is, produce, those vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. Antioxidants help scavenge the free radicals and prevent damage to cells and DNA, which might help slow down the aging process. So I think those are great to include in your diet when it comes to skin health. And then I think healthy fats too, kind of nourish from the inside out, vitamin E, omega-3 fats. But there's no clear-cut science to show, but there are some studies to show there is some link. And then conversely, there's some research to show that dairy might be linked to acne. But again, there's no clear-cut black and white. There's just some studies that show it might cause that.
Interesting.
That's a great question. If I'm pushing my cart through Wegmans, it's 100,000 square feet of bad food choices, some of which are actually pretty good. I guess I want to steer away from the Coke and Pepsi aisle, and maybe steer away from the breakfast cereal aisle. And where do I find where is the antioxidant aisle in a supermarket?
Okay. Yeah, the antioxidant aisle. So antioxidants are, found in produce. So you don't have to buy fresh produce. You can also do frozen. I think a lot of people think maybe frozen isn't as good, but sometimes it's even more nutritious because they freeze it at peak ripeness. So it locks in the nutrition. And typically frozen is more affordable as well, and it lasts longer. You can keep it in the freezer. But your produce is where you're going to find all those antioxidants and those phytonutrients that help scavenge the free radicals, and I think could definitely be good for our skin health and just overall health.
Good.
I love to make salads that have fruit in them. So I keep the blueberries in the freezer. I love frozen blueberries, and I throw them in the salad with some raspberries and also those little oranges, you peel them. And
yes.
So wonderful. So here,
that sounds really refreshing.
So good. Here's my question. Let's say you're like Al and you're a fast food guy, or let's say you're like me and you like cookies and Chardonnay, and you do it once in a while. It's not all the time. You're not over at McDonald's every day, are you, Al?
No, I'm not. Okay. I would never admit it if I were. But no, I'm not.
So here's my question. If you're eating well, I'm not going to say perfectly, and you have these things that you like, can you take a multivitamin to fix the situation?
Yeah, I think taking a multivitamin is individualized. I mean, of course, working with a dietitian can help identify where you might be, missing some nutrients here and there, fill in those nutrient gaps. But I'm a huge advocate of the 80-20 lifestyle, eating nutritious food, balanced, good for you foods 80% of the time. And then, of course, leaving room for living life, and just the food environment we live in makes it almost impossible not to, get fast food. It's so hyper palatable. People, it's designed to make us go back for more. So I think just this food environment, can't expect people to be perfect. Dietitians aren't perfect either when it comes to diet. So that finding that good balance, I think is key. And then when it comes to supplements, I think, again, working with a dietitian is great to help identify gaps. Like I know there's some nutrients that a lot of people might be missing. Vitamin D is one that is harder to get in the winter months because we're outside less sun exposure. And then B12, if you're following like a plant-based diet, since B12 is primarily found in animal foods. So those are just two that stick out to me. But yeah, you can definitely leave room for McDonald's here and there, and Chardonnay and cookies.
Chardonnay is a good pairing, by the way, for a Big Mac. It's been my experience that the two of them actually go together. But I have another question.
Interesting.
You brought up my favorite imperfect person. And I have friends. I'm asking for a friend. I'm not asking for myself. But for my friends who believe that alcohol is a food group, what should you avoid? I mean, is there one that's better than another or less not nutritious? I mean, how careful do we have to be about that?
Yeah, I have an add-on for that. I've been told by many people that you should drink vodka, not wine.
Ah, okay.
Interesting. Okay. So the new dietary guidelines stay the same with their alcohol recommendations, which is no more than one alcoholic beverage per day for women and 2 for men. If you drink, if you don't drink, then they're not encouraging that you do. It just, if you do drink, that's sort of the recommendation for healthy adult men and women. But when it comes to different alcoholic beverages, all I can speak to is I know some are maybe lower in calories than others. Like sparkling wine is typically lower in calories. I know those like seltzer drinks are really popular right now, and those are like at 100 calories per can, something like that. And then of course we hear about the red wine and the antioxidants, which is true. They are higher in antioxidants than like white wine, for example. So I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It's just some are lower in calories, some are higher in calories. Just kind of depends on your preference.
That's good to know. And when you're in the supermarket, there are fruit juices and there are fruit drinks, and there seems to be a distinction. I'm guessing one of them is better than the other.
Right. So that's another important thing that maybe a lot of people may not realize is when it comes to fruit juices and beverages, you always want to read the label because some have added sugar. And the thing about fruit is it's naturally sweet. So I always say with those fruit juices, you want to buy 100% juice, one that doesn't have the added sugar. So 100% orange juice. So always read the label when it comes to those fruit beverages.
Great.
Yeah, lots of good information. It's time for us to take another commercial break. So we'll be gone for a couple of minutes, but we hope you'll stay with us here with Mia Sin and Mr. Al Cini here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn.
Terrific interview. Thanks, Mia.
Excellent. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Have you ever tried to build people into a team? Maybe you've tried bowling, or ziplining, or paintball, or pizza making. These events can be fun, and they can make everybody happy for a while. But in the long run, do they really turn people into a team? Now, imagine the members of your team scattered all over the world, working from trains and airplanes, from remote offices, client locations, or working from home. How do you build a winning team when your playing field might be the entire world? With BCAT, we've created the answer. Working completely online, no matter where your people are, we turn them into an engaged and motivated team in 3 simple steps. First, we use the BCAT survey, which they can take online, anywhere, anytime, to reveal the North Star that represents their shared pride in the work they do. Next, we work with your team's leaders and stakeholders to convert that North Star into a role target, an ideal virtual person who represents your team's best self, living its best day at work. With our internet tools, we hang your North Star high in the sky, where everyone on your team can see it, no matter where in the world they might be. Then we guide and help everyone on your team in creating personal plans to align themselves with your team's North Star. We help each of them develop the positive habits that, day by day, every day, steer them closer to your North Star, aligning themselves with your team's signature dreams and ideals. And over the long haul, we offer programs and coaching techniques that help them stick to their plans. Remote team building isn't hard. It doesn't take long. And it's just as much fun as pizzas and paintball. You build winning teams around a purpose, not a place. BCAT is the answer.
My stomach issues make me want to stay home, but that's not an option. No matter how prepared I am, I still feel nervous. Enough is enough.
If this sounds familiar, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation can offer you support and connect you with a specialist.
Don't keep your symptoms to yourself. Get help at spillyourguts.org today.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
I just love being on the side of the building. Thank you, Al. Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn here on Business Talk Radio and live on social media. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Al Cini, and our special guest, Mia Sin, live from Charleston. Welcome back.
Great to be back, and it's such a great
Thank
subject.
you.
And fat. I want to talk about fat because dietary fat. You mentioned the keto diet, I think, a little while ago, Mia, and it's kind of a fat diet. They say fat's fine for you. Don't worry about fat. It's carbs that are bad. And, maybe you can talk a little bit about what kind of fat is good. What kind of fat do I have to worry about?
Sure. So there are two fats that I think most people should look out for. The first one is trans fats, and that's one that we want to avoid at all. Like, you don't want to have any trans fats in your diet. A lot of fast foods were adding it. It was found in a lot of fried foods, but I know they're removing trans fats from their foods, most fast food establishments. But it's also found in like biscuits or packaged cookies and cakes. So again, you want to read the nutrition facts label. The dietary guideline says there's no real safe level of consumption. It raises our LDL cholesterol, which can increase our risk of heart disease. So trans fats is one that we want to avoid. Saturated fat, I know there's a lot of there's two different camps. Some people think it's not as bad as initially thought, but I think the research is still ongoing. The dietary guideline still says to limit saturated fat consumption. That's found in red meat, high-fat dairy, because that can elevate our LDL cholesterol as well, increase our risk of heart disease when consumed in excess. But I kind of have a different take, or my take on red meat is that it can be very nutrient dense, especially like grass-fed beef. It's high in bioavailable iron that our body can absorb and utilize efficiently, which is important for energy. But you just want to be mindful of how often you consume red meat, high-fat dairy products. So that's one that we just want to limit. Saturated fat, you don't necessarily have to eliminate it from your diet. And then the plant-based fats are sort of the ones that are good for us, found in nuts, seeds, olives, olive oil. So those are the ones we want to focus on.
Great. And all this information is on your website and on your blog. So valuable to know that.
Yes.
Great.
What about different types of oil? We've heard that olive oil is good for you. What about the other ones? Coconut, sesame, grapeseed?
Yeah, so I think oils, they can have different flavors as well. So it depends how you want to use them. I think extra virgin olive oil is great for salad dressings. It's not one with a high smoke point. So you don't want to use it for high heat cooking. There are some oils that have a high smoke point, like there's this avocado coconut oil that I like to use called cacavo that has a high smoke point. So I can use that for sautés, or if I'm baking something in the oven, roasting veggies, something like that. Corn oil has a high smoke point, so that's great for high heat cooking as well. Same with avocado oil. And then I know a lot of people like coconut oil for baked goods because it has a slightly sweeter taste. Coconut oil is kind of unique because it's one of the only plant-based oils that is high in saturated fat. And again, jury's still out on whether those saturated fats are different because they are plant-based, so they might not be bad for us. But I think most dietitians will agree to treat it as you would other saturated fats and limit it in excess.
Yeah, that's
Question I have about the coconut oil. So I bought this huge gallon of it and I was putting it on my skin. And then I saw it has 130 calories per tablespoon. And I wasn't sure because I'm not ingesting it. Am I getting those calories by putting it on my skin?
That's so interesting. I actually don't know. I mean, I use coconut oil to remove eye makeup. I think it works really well. But I mean, I've heard that before. I don't think that's my expertise, that what we put on our skin is absorbed. But I can't say. That's interesting.
Yeah, it'll probably be on your blog next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research and do a blog post on that. Yeah.
I have a question too. I had a couple of friends over months ago, and they saw me put a dish in the microwave, and I was just about to push the button, and they freaked out. 100% convinced that microwaves kill nutrition, and the only way to cook food is by regular convectional heat, that kind of thing. Is there any truth to that? Do I have to worry about how I prepare the food?
So there are some nutrients that are sensitive to heat. I don't think it matters whether it's microwave heat or I don't know much about that, but I know like vitamin C is very sensitive and water soluble. So like when cooking broccoli is really high in vitamin C. I think that if you want to get the most nutrition out of it, I would just lightly maybe pan fry it or steam it or something like that. So there's different vitamins are more sensitive to heat and water, but yeah, I don't know much about
microwaves. Yeah, microwaves aren't necessarily worse. That's good to know too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mia, I'm wondering, what is your favorite meal?
It depends what mood I'm in. Like healthy meal or
yeah, let's
okay. I'm a big fan of cauliflower. So cauliflower is really trendy right now, and some people might be like, "What are you talking about, cauliflower?" But it's cauliflower is this mild tasting veggie, and different. It's being snuck into all these classic comfort foods. So I love cauliflower crust pizza. I think that's actually my favorite meal. I like it like more than regular pizza. I have a really good recipe for it, cauliflower crust, on my blog. Nice. But that's probably my favorite sort of better for you meal that still tastes like comfort food. I love pasta, using pasta swaps. So I'll do like zucchini noodles if I'm instead of spaghetti noodles, and I think that's super satisfying. Spaghetti squash is another great pasta swap that's lower in calories and carbohydrates, but still tastes really delicious. So I love like classic comfort foods, but with that nutritious twist. And then of course you can do cauliflower rice, cauliflower mashed potatoes, cauliflower gnocchi is another one that I really like right now. And you can buy that, I know at Trader Joe's, and my local grocery store has the Green Giant cauliflower gnocchi, but that's really delicious as well if you like pasta, because you're still getting that veggie nutrition.
Great.
Sounds delicious. And I know we're coming to the top of the hour for the program, but question that I have, because this is my favorite, I like to make homemade pesto. And I know that has a lot of fat in it because of the olive oil and the cheese, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think pesto's very nutritious, especially if you're using a heart-healthy oil. And I have a version on my blog with broccoli and kale, but I love traditional pesto with basil. But yeah, pesto is made with nutritious ingredients. I think the one you want to look for is the oil. Make sure that it's a good oil, so you're getting those good fats. And pesto adds a lot of flavor, even though it's calorically dense, but I think a little bit goes a long way.
I like to make it with arugula, basil, and then I use 2 or 3 different kinds of seeds in there. So I'm sure calorie-wise,
it sounds good. Sounds very good.
Good. So Mia, tell us
very flavorful.
It's delicious. Tell us again how we can watch you on the local station, and then also your website and your blog, your Instagram.
Sure. Well, you can find all my recipes and nutrition tips at nutritionbymia.com and nutritionbymia on Instagram. And then I have my local segment, Good Food Friday, on the ABC Charleston affiliate about once or twice a month. And then I do local and national segments weekly on affiliates across the country, and I'll post that on my Instagram so you can watch those segments. And this month I'm sharing tips for easy ways to eat healthier in the new year. And then next month I'll talk about National Snack Month. So there's always new fun topics and meal ideas.
That's excellent. Well, you've been a wonderful guest, providing us so much information that really resonates with anyone and everyone.
It's
Thank you
everybody's
so
life.
much for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. So
Useful information.
It's really useful, and I'm going to be getting some of these recipe tips. So I'm following you on Instagram, and I'm going to start getting the recipes and making them because I love pasta, and I forgot all about spaghetti squash. That's a great idea. It's good. So
You'll have to tag me. I'd love to see them.
Yes, definitely. I will, for sure. So if you'll wait for us backstage, we'll be right there. Mia, thank you again, and best wishes to you for your continued success.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So that was a great interview. I loved all the information that Mia
I have to go
shared.
back and watch it because I didn't take notes, but there was so much information in that interview that I think you could change your life with some of those tips. And it was just great having me on the program.
That's true. I really hope that our viewers and listeners can take away the fact that you don't have to do everything at once. I think that's where people really get derailed. It's when you think you have to change your entire eating program, you know, the entire way you look at nutrition. If you take small steps, then you're more likely to succeed, I think, and also remembering to drink water.
And that's something I really need to remember. I know a lot of people out there do too. And I've tried cauliflower crust pizza, and I was skeptical. I figured, boy, this is health food. It's going to be terrible, but it was delicious. It's actually better than your typical bread pizza crust. It was really good. So that's a good tip right there.
That's a really good tip, and I want to learn how to make it. So, well, my friend, we've come to the end of another program, and I wish you a beautiful and pleasant day. Any last words?
None from me, except I'm rethinking what I'm having for dinner based on Mia's conversation with us. So it was always great interviewing Mia, especially working with you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, it's always a pleasure seeing you and being on the show with you. And one thing to keep in mind is it's okay to have a Big Mac, or it's okay to have chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is.
That's not okay every so often. I'm probably not going to get a Big Mac today based on what I've learned. So
okay, well, that's good. Sorry, McDonald's, but
definitely.
All right, thank you so much, Al. I'll be right backstage in a minute.
Great.
And to our viewers and to our listeners, I just want to thank you for your loyalty, and especially for being with us during the 2 Wealth of Health events that we had. I think it was last week. It seems so long ago. And also we have a program coming up right after this at 3:30 with Vanessa Labarca. So I hope you'll join us for that. Until then, take good care of yourself and please be kind to one another. We really appreciate you again. And if you were looking to be a guest or a sponsor, please go to drjacalyn.com. We also have launched a brand new program, Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn Presents A Better You. Lessons from the best coaches and consultants and trusted advisors. So we'd love to have you join us on that. All the information is on drjacalyn.com. Thank you. We'll see you next time.